Self-control.
It actually helped me a lot not make a lot of bad decisions, because like I told you before, like I didn't have that safety net. I can't afford to do that, because what if I was to get expelled? I don't have parents that would be like, oh look, it's gonna be okay. I didn't have that. I had to control myself a lot.
It's a lot of pressure at a young age though, to be leaving home at 16. What I took for granted growing up was the incredible community. And so that's why I've been doing community stuff. Like, we booked the entire theatre and we watched Kung Fu Panda together.
Did you actually?
Yes, we booked the entire
That is
theatre
so
in the
cute.
cinema. Yeah, I think in terms of adversity, you know what? Somehow perseverance, for me, probably the most challenging experience I had in my life was when my brother died. And like you said, hurt people. Extreme case of it. Like, and so in terms of perseverance, it's trying to go about things the right way. Unfortunately, I had some coping things I leaned on.
But the fact that you're able to talk about it and acknowledge it, you need to recognize that's a big thing for yourself. It's a very big thing. No, it's fine.
It's one thing that I've become not an advocate for, but I don't drink alcohol anymore. It's been 18 months. And
Allahumma barik.
yeah, the booze was a coping mechanism for that. It was also a way to celebrate. Right, back in the good times, it's there, and then in the bad times, it's there. Aye, Scotland. Scotland, pal. Aye. Going out for a wee drink. Aye, get out my gaff for a wee bevy. Anyways, basically the perseverance is somehow, what's the difference between perseverance and unbreakable spirit? I think that unbreakable spirit is essentially a belief.
I think it's also, perseverance is like the actual action of not giving up, whereas unbreakable spirit is not letting it ruin you. Yeah.
Somehow the perseverance is exactly the action, and that's what I mean. It's about trying to do it the right way. The unbreakable spirit was somehow like, I know I will survive. In what form, I don't know.
But I think perseverance is not a straight journey. It's not I'm never ever gonna give up, because there's gonna be some times where you do give up, and there's gonna and people and that is okay, because it's all about the growth that comes from from that giving up bit.
One of my favorite Sadhguru. You don't know Sadhguru?
No.
It's one of my favorite accents to do, which I'm not going to make.
Let's not do a podcast.
Let's not do that. Let's not do that. I like Sadhguru. And he had one about go back to bed. Sometimes you gotta just go back to bed. And he said it in more colorful language, which was all part of the fun. I'm pretty sure it was Sadhguru, but yeah, sometimes you give up the day to win the week.
Exactly. Big one.
Yeah. So self-control, last principle of Choi Kwon-do. It's the last one that we haven't discussed.
Yes,
right?
yeah.
The last one for us to discuss.
Sure. I think, especially being a young student who knew martial arts, self-control was a big thing, because especially when I grew up in quite I don't know if volatile is the right word, in terms of like, I had very, very bad anger issues, for sure, because I was in an environment where I had to survive. It's actually embarrassing to talk about. I was a very angry kid, but because I had martial arts, and because I was told, like, look, you need to like control yourself, it actually helped me a lot not make a lot of bad decisions, because like I told you before, like I didn't have that safety net. I can't afford to get angry, start beating up some kid, or start getting rude to my teachers. I can't afford to do that, because what if I was to get expelled? Then I have no backup plan. I don't have parents that would be like, oh look, it's gonna be okay. I didn't have that. And so I had to control myself a lot. But I didn't really have the urge to act out, because I knew that I didn't have the safety net to do so. I think having a safety net is something that people do take advantage of quite a lot, and they then act out because they know that they'll come home and everything's going to be okay. And I think when you really don't have that, it's a big thing, and you don't even want to act out because you're just scared of what will happen if you do. So that self-control, I wasn't actively doing it, but it was a subconscious thing that I knew I had to just watch what I was doing, watch what I was saying, how I was moving, how I was acting. And like, yeah.
It's a lot of pressure at a young age, though. It's a lot of pressure. I mean, it's young to be leaving home at 16. I moved out when I was 17, but I had a very good relationship with my parents. And I moved to, back, as they say, balik kampong, moved back to my hometown after being away. But 17 is also young for being out. But I mean, especially with my dad. My dad is, in many ways, my rock. My sister is like my emotional rock as well. You would think she was my older sister. The number of times. But kind of lost my train of thought a little bit there. Going back to self-control. Yeah. So in people learning Taekwondo, especially kids, I think, and I have a question to you from this. The beginners, they learn self-control for impulsive behavior. They become better at regulating impulsiveness. And this is something that I had as a big problem as an advanced kid. I was an 8-year-old black belt. I was advanced for being a kid, and I'd done a lot of hours. By the time I was 10, I was on a 3-4 times a week schedule, and I had been on for years because my mum was like, that was her main project, was having a Taekwondo school, and I enjoyed doing it with my dad, and we sometimes go on like lad and dad adventures to Taekwondo stuff. And but anyways, it was a lot, and I can see it in some of the kids. We've got some kids that I've been training since they were like 3 years old, and they're now 10 years old, which is incredible. It's absolutely amazing.
It's so easy for kids to be like, no, I don't want to do this anymore. So like kids change their minds all the time.
Yeah.
And when like a kid sticks with it, I think it's a very, very big thing.
It's I can't put it in words. It's an incredible thing to be experiencing, for sure. Especially now that I'm teaching a lot again. It's brings a tear to my eye. Honestly, I'm holding back. I'm fighting back tears.
Bit emotional.
I'm feeling emotional. So the thing is, I think that they're going to have some of the problems I had in terms of too much self-control, in terms of a little bit too much regulation, especially with getting stick at school. So I want to talk about it. It's a very tricky subject. Don't throw the first punch. It's like a great rule of thumb. But like too much self-control from kids throwing their weight about at school was a massive problem for me. Not sticking up for myself. Having like, we have in the children's promise to never misuse what I learn in class.
Yeah.
I understood it for many years to never use what I learn in class. Don't use it outside the class. Hey, I can kick lumps out of shields, but I never kicked a kid in my life. Right. So, it was one of those things where you end up, I had a problem being bullied, partly because if I'd punched one kid, it would have been, the bullying wouldn't have happened. But I never threw that punch. And so I don't want to go around telling kids, go and fight as much as you can. But it's a difficult balance where we teach them self-control, but then they end up with adversity in the form of stress at school, social stress, physical, and teasing and all sorts as well. And maybe they don't do enough.
Especially because like now in school, like telling the teacher is very uncool.
Now in school, it's always been uncool.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Yeah.
I obviously I can talk about my experiences, but like, that whole term of snitching, like you just because you're scared, because you at that age especially, you want to fit in, you want to be one of the cool ones.
Absolutely.
You don't want to go tell the teacher because then number one, you feel like you look weak, and because you feel like you need an adult to help you, and number two, people will then be like, oh, I can't do this around this person because they're going to go tell the teacher, and you don't really want that as a kid, because it's like it's embarrassing. Like, it's very embarrassing. And I remember I was also one of them. Like, I was like, if something was to happen to me, I would never tell the teacher, because I was like, I ain't going to be the person that they call a snitch. But then again, you got to realize that sometimes you're putting yourself in danger by doing that, especially with bullying. Like, if someone's bullying you, like, who cares if you think you're a snitch? You're being bullied. Like, you've got to take some responsibility for that. And being a snitch, what? Do you know how fast things move in school? There'll be one big thing and then they'll just move on. Like, if you're being called a snitch for one day, it's going to probably last for a couple of days. Something big, else will big will happen. It's school.
Yeah.
Do you know
Someone
what
else scores an own goal.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about them.
Exactly. It's not, it's really not that deep. Like, it's really not.
I think being able to talk about it is important. And I think that it's bullying, the face of it has changed. Now, more online bullying. Online bullying. So
that's very hard. It's a lot harder to control as well.
Yeah.
I personally think
it's still very intense. And so it can be more invasive, because if it's online, it can happen while you're at home.
And it's like hard to separate the two.
Yeah, and it can happen while you're alone in your room. You know, when a parent thinks that the kid's in their safe space, hibernating, maybe they're actually being a subject of
bullying.
bullying.
Notification can ruin their whole night.
Yeah. Oh, for me, if I get, I'm sensitive to the timing of things.
Yeah.
Because I tend to kind of hyper focus, and I need quite a lot of time to like have nothing going on and just banter. Like, that's my restorative period. It's
that's your safe space.
That's my safe space.
Yeah. If
we can say anything and it's all banter, then fantastic, because now I've let my guard down. Right? But it's tough for kids, especially having access to tech and communication.
And I think that's when the whole mental thing comes into Taekwondo, because you can't throw a punch through a screen, can you? No one's going to punch you through the screen, but it's more about that confidence within yourself to do something about it, to go and talk to someone about it.
Yeah.
I think that's when also, like, having a support system as well, which we can lead on to.
Yeah, I think it's about time to talk about the support system for sure.
Yeah.
And I think that the kind of last point, like you said, the mental aspect and the discipline, I think there will always be little altercations at school, physical ones. Especially certain people will naturally be targeted if they're a bit smaller, if they're a bit weird or whatever. Especially my spectrum homies. Unfortunately, they're always going to get a bit more stick at school because they kind of stick out.
Yeah.
But the thing with for me, I think Taekwondo people, I think we have a bit of a responsibility to ask ourselves, are we helping kids to defend themselves physically at school? Are we giving them a range of options? Do they have basic skills like being able to control their space, non-violent solutions?
But also being confident enough to just walk away.
Sometimes you let it slide, and then sometimes you want to have, I think, just that ninja ability to, like, something's coming and you're like
dissolve the yeah.
And there's dissolving, which is fantastic, but then sometimes you want to
being able to defend yourself without actually hurting the other person.
You want to have that option.
Yeah.
And you want to be. This is what the thing that it's a criticism. I'm extremely grateful for learning Taekwondo from the age I did, but the thing I felt was from my own childhood training, it was, I think, a very traditional martial art education that I had, because it was in the late 90s. It was just
martial art has evolved a lot.
Yeah, everything, the whole martial arts scene has evolved. But it was all cutting shapes in the air and hitting mitts, hitting pads. And I didn't really know how close I needed to be to somebody to hit them. Like, I knew in the idea, because I knew how to, when a pad was there, I could blow the pad away. But I didn't have necessarily the confidence to step in and punch someone. And I was also scared. I was very scared of the consequence, because I knew every single day the amount of power I could put into the pad. I was really worried.
Because one of those things,
the consequences.
Where, like, not being aware of your own strength. No, I'm sorry, that's the wrong term. I meant in terms of not being aware of your own strength, being aware of the fact that you know what you can do. So that's why you don't know what the effect could be if you were to do it.
I think that's a real problem with kids who are good at Choi Kwando who've been training for a long time. Is they know they can excel in the class. They know that they're powerful, fast, and so on. But they're worried about hurting people because ultimately we have a lot of gentle spirits. We attract a lot of gentle spirits in Choi Kwando. Community, support network. Introducing the fact, I said I ballet campo. I went back to my hometown. So when I was 17, I had been living in Italy for 3 years. My family was there. I went back and I lived with my old Taekwondo instructor.
Did you?
Yeah, literally. She was the head instructor in my mom's school. I crashed at her place first. Like, duh, of course. Then I rented a flat from another Taekwondo instructor. And the weekends settling in, my 18th birthday, I celebrated with the Taekwondo people that I've known since I was like, 8, 9, 10 years
Because
old.
you really do build your family.
Yeah,
through Taekwondo.
They were like, that was one of the reasons I wanted to go back to Scotland because I was having a bit of an identity crisis. Am I Italian, drinking coffee every day, the espresso, or am I going to be a Scottish? So I decided I want to be Scottish.
Yeah.
But then also the Choi Kwando was a big part of it. And it's like, we always talk about Choi Kwando family.
But it's like, when we say Taekwondo family, we mean Taekwondo family.
Like proper, like they are
I'm very
literally my
close of-
uncles and aunts, man.
Yeah.
And my cousins. Like I grew up with them.
And it's such a beautiful thing. Because it's like, especially as someone like myself who didn't have a stable family, I'm very careful with who I put in my life because unfortunately I do have to have chosen family now. Like, I am part of a very broken family and my grandparents were like the last people who I felt unconditional love from, and unfortunately that they've now passed away. So I'm now at a point in my life where I have to have chosen family, and selecting those people and the fact that it has come naturally from Choi Kwando, I genuinely consider like my instructors as well as the instructors that I'm also surrounded with as part of my family, and it's a big thing for me.
Yeah. In terms of the support overcoming adversity,
Yeah.
what does it actually mean having your Choi Kwando people or your family? That for people who know Choi Kwando, then they get it. For people who don't know Choi Kwando, they're like, or maybe the way that they experience Choi Kwando. So like, for example, what I'm operating in KL is a professional studio with classes 7 days a week and instructors who teach 25 classes a week, and they teach 100 children, all in little groups of 5 to 10. And what I grew up in was the same, like 4 families get together on a Sunday. Nobody makes any money. Everybody's got their own lives, their own jobs. This is an interest that we have. We get together every Sunday, every Tuesday, every Friday, sometimes on Wednesday as well. And then we get together at Christmas and New Year. And we get together for my birthday and the next one's birthday and the next one's birthday. We're hanging out all the time. Like I told you, instructors, when I was a kid, there was a whole group of instructors between the age of like 18 and 25. We would do training on Friday night near town. They would take the bus from town or like drive from town, whatever, come back to ours, spend the weekend. And they were like older brothers, sisters, cousins, whatever. It's just, but having them in terms of like bringing it back then to like support network, for me, that was, there was, one of them was my Aunt Tracy. And she was through Choi Kwando. And just at that time, it was just like the perfect person at the perfect time for me. Just little things. Gave me a little break from Choi. I was having a bit too much Choi when I was like 13, 14. It was all a bit much. And I wasn't getting to play football, and that was quite devastating. That relationship with her, she wasn't my aunt, but I call her Aunt Tracy, and I mean it, because she filled that role. And my family's not from Aberdeen. I'm from Aberdeen because there's oil in the North Sea, and because my dad was involved in getting oil out of the ground to make money. My family's in Glasgow, my family's in England, my family's in America, my family's not in Aberdeen, but my Choi Kwando family is.
Yeah.
And I think
So when you
that,
go back there, you do have a sense of family there.
oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Oh, I've got my sister there.
Yeah.
Now my sister's there, settled. But like, I think for that was my mum's thing with Choi Kwando when she opened. my mum had just been in Italy for 3 years, and it was very, very difficult because it's not set up for expats, especially where we were. It's not a cosmopolitan place where we were. It was rural,
Cultural.
monocultural, very monocultural, like easy Italian. I loved it because I took it on. I was at that age that you're like a sponge, and I could pass as Italian if I had enough sun and I wore the right clothes and I didn't speak with my hands in my pockets. But anyways, yeah, my mum, when she left Italy and then came to Malaysia, I think she was really aware of like the role that Choi Kwan Do can play in terms of being family away from family.
Yeah.
And so that's what this whole Choi Kwan Do in Malaysia thing, that's how it all started. It was Auntie Debs, who happens to be a master at Choi Kwan Do, and like good, like, it's scary. Not scary to the kids, scary, scary in the good sense, like.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, that's how it all started. There was a lot of expats. It's in an expat enclave in Monkiara, and it was founded as that to have that role in people's lives. And I changed it because it wasn't scalable, and because it wasn't really where my head was at, and I had a kind of different vision for it at that time. But since, I think as things have settled, I think community, like we were saying, I think that's probably my biggest growth as a Choi Kwan Do instructor of the most recent chapter, is realizing that what I took for granted growing up was the incredible community. And so that's why I've been doing community stuff. Like, we booked the entire theater and we watched Kung Fu Panda together.
Did you actually?
Yes, we booked the entire
That is
theater in
so
the cinema. I remembered when I was younger, at some point we had booked like 1 or 2 rows in the cinema to see like some martial art movie, and it was sick. It was so cool because I got to hang out with like the instructor.
It's so cool as well. Like when you hang out with your instructors outside of a martial arts setting, you realize that they're just genuinely good people. Like,
Yeah.
and it's so nice to see that they're not they're not putting on a persona. Of
Yeah.
course, they're putting on a professional persona because you have to. But in terms of the fact that they're genuinely good people, like because they also are following the same principles that you're following, they're following the same moral stance that you're following. So I think that's why the way people kind of like, that's why the whole family aspect comes in, because your morals and are the same. And I think that's the most secure connection you can have with someone, if you both have the same moral stance and stuff.
Yeah, the principles are unifying.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. That Kung Fu Panda thing was incredible. It was, honestly, it was Ramadan as well.
Nice.
So I was very sensitive. I was feeling very sensitive. And it was an emotional experience. It was incredible. It was so nice. And then we had our Pokemon gym, which I've just been so lucky that I'm not the only Pokemon nerd in the
And
team.
your students are very much like,
this
like me coming here, like I just clocked that, like, because you spoke about Pokemon, and then I saw your students, and I was like, oh, like this is a very big thing.
It's
here.
become a thing.
Yeah.
It's you know why? It's like, I don't think it's everywhere, but like since we had the Pokemon gym, it's just opened the whole door.
And it's nice that they can relate to their instructor about things that they like. Do you know what I mean? That's not necessarily, it's not a joy thing at all, Pokemon.
No.
But it's like, it's cool that they can be like, oh my God, like look at this, and you both can get excited about it. Because then it then builds that respect and builds that trust within that actual professional setting.
And it's fun. It's like, there's no acting. I love Pokemon. I am not ashamed about it. I love it. You've seen it. I was going wherever. I was watching off day, I said, what was it, Los Angeles Regional Championship. I was watching the final of like competitive Pokemon, and I was like, oh my God. Yeah, I was like, oh my God, what's he done? Like,
I
it was
personally
mad.
don't know much about Pokemon, but it does seem like a nice bonding thing.
It's just naturally happened that's something
You guys
that
get all gassed about like the specific character.
we
Is the character
gassed,
what it's
fam.
called?
Sure. I'm not. Yeah, sure.
Let's look at it.
Let's look at into it. But it's like it's bonding and enjoying, and it's about community. That ultimately fosters that sense of community. Another one is football. There's a few footballers in the group, and when it comes to their circle chat, I'm like, oh, did you have a game? Oh,
Yeah,
we lost
even in our
6-1.
school, like
Whatever.
like our instructor plays football, and then obviously like he can talk to the students about it as well, which I think is a nice thing. Like we have a quite another that plays football as well. Like when you have hobbies that you can relate to as well, and you can talk to about it, like you know, like joking about football teams as well, like
Yeah,
little rivalries
football
that you
banter.
have. Yeah.
In London, you've got
It's a
it's
big
one of the
one.
best places for football banter and
Yeah, for
rivalries.
sure.
Yeah, I think like it kind of veers back to what you said about being a complete individual and not having all your eggs in one basket, having different activities, having different interests, having your hobbies, and kind of bringing back to a point that I'd said about a period in my life where you'd asked about the burnout, and I was working 27 days a month, and that whole period of being like really one dimensional. There came a time when I realized that to move forward with my ambitions, I needed to work on the business and not in the business. And I needed to learn about the business side, because even though I have a degree in business, I had been so busy teaching classes, I had not really put much work into the
And
behind
of
the
course, in
scenes.
your business degree, they didn't teach you how to run a taekwondo school.
Yeah,
One of the modules had
one of the
pose down,
modules.
guys.
Who's sound? But it was like having kind of come through that, and then I took a break from teaching kids, and then I was teaching black belts, and then I was teaching color belt adults, covering kids classes sometimes, and now I've got my schedule. It's starting to feel like imbalance. I've got the 2 days, managed to get the 2 days off, got some hobbies, bit of football, bit of Warhammer. Oof. It's nice to have a balance, different types of interests, creative interests, social interests like the football. And then actually you end up I enjoy the Taekwondo.
Yeah,
I'm loving it.
because you've had the day to not do it.
Yeah, you've had your mind on something else. You've had a wee break from it, and then you come back to it energized. You come back to it
Because
enthused.
even in as much as we love it, if you do it again, if you overdo it, you're gonna have a period where you're just like, ugh.
Been there.
Yeah,
majorly.
exactly. Same with me. Like I'm just like, but then when I've had breaks from it,
Yeah.
it's been like, oh, I just can't wait to train. I can't wait to go back to teach classes. Like it's because it's not you're no longer taking it for granted.
Yeah.
If you're doing it all the time, you're gonna go. You know you're gonna go punch your shield. Whereas those things then become exciting.
For like today, doing the podcast, and then I'm teaching later. It's a bit of a long day. Yesterday was Eid al-Adha, and I thought to myself at night, oh, it's quite a long day. There's a little bit of nervousness before recording, and then also like I know that it's tougher to do something in the morning and then go and teach. Like in an ideal world, I would just always sleep right up until class time, do class, and then chill. And the classes would all be in the afternoon. I'd always have like 12 hours of sleep. Like that's like the kind of fantasy. But like I was thinking, oh, it's Tuesday. I've got my Tuesday mini ninjas. I'm like, that's the one that's got me buzzing. Like, because I know my Tuesday mini ninjas are so sound. They're such a good group. They're such cool kids. Like it's going to be banter. It's going to be really fun. And then I'm like, oh, I've got this with Eid. We've got a shorter week. I'm thinking, oh, Wednesday, my 6:30 class is like the most banterful class. Like they have the best sense of humor. I got the student who can even speak my dialect. He's like
Scottish student.
No, he's not. He's Malaysian. But I said one time.
Oh, the Indonesian.
No.
Oh.
I said one time, I was like, oh, it's weird weather, isn't it? We actually call this Drich. And he says, it's Alpha Drich day. I said it's Alpha Drich day. And he said it back perfectly, parroted perfectly. And I was like, you can speak Doric. So that was, it's just banter.
Yeah.
Just banter. We have a good crack.
That's
and then,
nice.
Yeah. But that's what gets me buzzing for it. It's the thought of it'll be a good laugh. It'll be good fun. And the kicking and punching is the process. They're the tools. They're a very, very important outcome, but they're not the one that my eyes are. I'm not locked on with two eyes on the kicking
You're
and punching
more looking
outcome.
for a connection with the students at the same time.
I'm looking to enjoy it.
Yeah.
I'm wanting to have fun
Yeah,
when I go. I want to be having a good time. That's number one.
for sure.
and then the rest will happen naturally. Especially, I've been teaching Taekwondo for 20 something years. I'm not going to show up to a class and not teach them anything, right?
Just doesn't want Pokemon the whole time. No,
That's the real danger that I have to fight every day, every class. Put your cards away, guys. Right. I think closing thoughts then. It's time for us to wrap.
not that kind of.
Not that kind of rap. Not that type of rap. That was pretty bad beatboxing, especially
pretty decent.
here in Subang. I'm sure we can find a better beatboxer than that.
Yeah.
So, closing thoughts. Adversity is very subjective.
I think it's a lot about, one thing we mainly did is about accountability. You're going through something, accept it and work through it. Like,
and be gentle with yourself along the way.
exactly. And give yourself some slack, because hurt people. Like, you're gonna, if like
massively.
like you've got to give yourself that kindness that you then can offer to other people.
Yeah.
Because you're never able to do that unless you do it to yourself.
It's a big investment.
For sure.
It's a massive investment. Well, it pays dividends to you, and it pays dividends to the people around you massively. And we also touched on being a Taekwondo student, what it's like, the way that Taekwondo has helped us in our own experiences, and then also as an instructor, like what it's like being aware of what's going on out with the dojang and the classes in front of you.
Leaving the worries at the door.
Leaving the worries at the door.
Or
but
what that actually means.
yeah, and the fact that it's hard for them to do, and we need to be
It was
sympathetic.
hard for me to do. I only really learned properly like very recently. Before that, I'm someone that I find it very hard to fake my, like, not fake my emotion, but like put on something like that is not what I'm actually feeling. Right. So then that's why I struggled with it a lot. And now I'm now I'm an instructor. Like, it's one thing that I only very recently learned how to do and properly. So it is a very hard thing to do.
For me, one of the things I do, it's a little gentleness with myself. If there's something big going on, it's not fair to let that affect the students, but I'll gear myself for success. Like, there was a time I was very, very stressed, and all of the students were having an emotional experience. No sparring, no counterattack drill, no defense drill for a month. Take a break. Everyone's feeling a little angsty. Everyone's feeling a little anxious. Everything's a little stressful. Take a break. We'll come back to that. We'll come back to it with success. We'll build some foundation. We'll put a little groundwork in. Little things like that. You help yourself. And it's not, I wouldn't recommend to everybody, that they should be wishy-washy in terms of like letting their life affect their students. But there's little things that you can do if you know that you're having a crisis in your school, number one. Or if you're having a crisis in your personal life. Sometimes you can make little decisions which are inconsequential at the end of the year in terms of doing footwork games instead of counterattack drill for a month does not make a big difference at the end of the year. It does not. But it made a massive difference for that month because it took the pressure off of something that could become a little bit tense for people.
Yeah.
Right. You just remove that. That's the most emotionally tense training. Remove it. So little things like that are like, that's me being gentle with myself as well, is allowing to say, you know what, I am endeavoring to leave it at the door and I'm going to help myself along the way. Then we touch on
different parts of identity.
Different parts of identity.
And having not specifically limiting yourself to one thing, because people are a lot more complex than they think they are. Like, you are more than one thing.
I've come to believe that the best Taekwondo instructors are not just Taekwondo instructors.
Yeah.
I think that they have more going on. It makes them more relatable.
Exactly. And plus that it allows them to take the pressure off certain things and allows them to then be able to prioritize certain things.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it gives you like that stability.
Yeah.
Stability, it gives you more confidence. Gives you a wider network. Like friendships, social groups. I had the football boys round for Eid yesterday, which was very nice. And it's nice that now that Choi's work for me, it could have been the Choi group before, but I don't I don't want to always. It doesn't.
You
don't.
or you were able to find another social group.
Correct. A hobby. A hobby group. And then it was, we had a good chat as well about some specific Choi Kwando stuff in terms of like the principles of Choi Kwando and how that exists as a community. And then the Choi Kwando family. Big up Choi Kwando fam. I told you at the beginning, big up, we're getting there.
Big up.
Big up. And yeah, it's been a great chat, Savera.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
Thank you very much for coming on. First guest on the pod. How was it?
I'll be honest, I was very nervous.
Yeah.
But I think once you start getting into it, it was very natural.
Yeah, it's been a lovely chat. It's been absolutely lovely. Thank you very much. And I hope that the rest of your stay in Malaysia, yang terbaik, goes very well.
Thank you.
It's a good time.
Thank you.
All right. Cheers. Hi guys, we just filmed the first episode of the Inwards and Onwards podcast, where we will be talking about life's challenges, about character development, and we will be doing more episodes. We had our first guest, Miss Savera Latif from Adapt Taekwondo in London. Subscribe so you can see more videos and click the notification bell so you know when they come out.